Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of Incorp Group's Pro Business podcast series. I am Eric here, the Chief Business Development Officer of Incorp Group. I have my partner in crime, Elton, our Deputy COO here as well.
Hi everyone, thanks Eric again for the introduction, and thanks everyone for listening and tuning in again. Today we'll be talking about the retail industry, and basically some of the key points that we're talking about is, I'm sure you're curious about what is happening in the retail industry, especially on the digital shift, and with this COVID-19 pandemic that no one expected, basically what has caused our retail industry to change, and secondly, what an entrepreneur should consider before starting a retail business. And finally, also to look at how can we get started in the Singapore's retail industry, as well as some of the rules and regulations that I think all of you should be aware of before you actually embark on this journey of setting up a retail business in Singapore.
That's right, Elton. So I think because of the growth of e-commerce, everybody thought that retail is dying, especially of the big US chains that have gone bankrupt or filed for Chapter 11. But I guess for the retail industry, it still holds very close to many of our hearts. With a lot of us, I think because we are old, a lot of us still like to go shopping physically, touch the product, touch the merchandise before buying. So I think today we would like to also share with everyone that the retail industry, although has evolved, it's not going to die. It's going to be a key part of our lives going forward, which is why we're talking about this session today about the retail industry in Singapore. So maybe Elton, our listeners will want to understand for the retail industry in Singapore, what are the trends, what are the changes that has been happening, especially during these COVID times?
Sure. Eric, I think as you remember, we were in the lockdown earlier in 2020, and all of us were busy shopping online, selling food to each other and so on. So I think that kind of mindset has actually changed a lot of the ways that people are thinking, not only for the younger generation, but also the older generation, people like us, who are very, very used to purchasing our groceries, buying our clothes online and so on. So the prominence of online shopping has actually pushed a lot of our retailers in Singapore to adopt a click-to-brick strategy. In fact, because of the declining rents, many of the retailers that we think traditionally might be closing down stores, some of them have in fact opened more stores, such as I think you have heard of our homegrown brand Love Bonito. Basically, the store opened its fourth largest store in VivoCity, occupying about 4,300 square feet.
And actually, Love Bonito started as a pure 100% e-commerce fashion
marketplace. That's right. So that is one of the online store that we have seen that open up physical stores in Singapore. And another trend that we will look at is something that's very close to your heart, which is in the sports and leisure industry, where a lot of people are now focusing a lot on the health and active living. So Foot Locker, as you would have known, opened its sixth and largest store at Orchard Gateway that has about 23,000 square feet. So you can imagine the crowd that has been there for a couple of weeks that is doing their Christmas shopping and so on.
In fact, the biggest store that they have opened, other than Foot Locker, I think another UK brand, the JD Sports, is also in Singapore as well.
Yes.
So COVID or not, they have a full e-commerce presence also in Singapore.
And I think if you have visited Orchard Road, over the weekend or in the past few weekends, you have seen that the foot traffic actually in all these physical stores are actually gaining traction because number one, we are stuck in Singapore, we can't travel. But even though there is the absence of tourists as well as implementing the social distancing measures that the government has put in place, a lot of these stores, both online as well as physically, they have increased their customer base beyond Singapore, through the online platforms that we have seen. Of course, we also witnessed some of the casualties, including our very iconic Robinsons, which have closed shop just very recently after 160 years. And that has caused prime rental rates to actually fall across the board, even in first-tier malls. So, Eric, based on what you have seen in the retail industry, basically, can you share with us, for a lot of these entrepreneurs, especially our overseas friends who are listening in, how can they actually avoid any of these pitfalls that they may have, or can you clarify any doubts that they may have when they are trying to set up a retail business in Singapore?
Sure, Elton. I think there's 4 main points that we can probably cover today. The first point will be how retailers can harness the data or digital data to provide more personalized services through digital adoption. So I guess for retailers of the world, if you're 100% brick and mortar business, you want to look at Singapore. I think if you intend to come to Singapore, right, having a brick and mortar presence, you also think about having a brick and mortar and retail presence in this case, right? So the benefits of having both brick and mortar and online presence, I think in today's world, is key for every retailer out there, be it they are in the F&B, be it they are in fashion, or be it they are in other forms of products. So we have seen that again for the young and for old people like us, Elton. There are people that like to go to the store, touch the product,
Yes.
think about it for one day, and then buy it online.
Yes.
So we find that a lot of such, I think, consumer behaviors, right, have helped the retailers to evolve or change their aggressive marketing strategies a little bit to both online and offline. And for all retailers out there, to have a more improved and more efficient supply chain procedures will also be key. COVID or not, or lockdown or not, right? The logistic players are operating in full flow. We have seen through the ports of Singapore as well as through our airport, a lot of these cargo planes, cargo ships are coming into Singapore every day. Because again, the supply chain is important. So for every retailers out there, depending on what kind of products you're bringing or selling, and you're dealing with, say, multiple manufacturers, be it in-house or outsource, you are going to look at restocking or supplying, or renegotiating supplying, or your raw materials, I would say, with all your suppliers, right? Having improved efficient supply chain procedures, and as well as adopting certain technology solutions out there that deals with supply chain management. I think this will be key to helping you gain an edge over your competitors. And the last point on the Singapore government again, right? They have one scheme that helps Singapore companies or Singapore retailers to overcome or to adopt more digital-ready solutions. They also have a retail industry transformation map or roadmap, I would say, to encourage retailers to go digital and also obtain certain grants and professional support schemes from the government itself, right? So if you're a foreign retailer looking at penetrating this space in the country, coming into Singapore, rest assured that there are a lot of support programs out there that can help you.
Great. Thanks, Eric, for sharing. Eric, but I think for some of our listeners out here that are looking at, they may have a very established retail business in their home country, and a lot of these retail businesses are focused on customer experience and so on that may have only been traditionally brick and mortar. So how do you think they can create an online presence here in Singapore through our help?
Sure. So I think there's a few perspectives, right? One thing, if you're a foreign company looking to come to Singapore for the first time, you need to understand the country, which we definitely can help and share. You need a bit of structuring advisory on setting up the appropriate legal entity for you to start business. You will need to understand how to hire for employees, how to think about how to set up your accounting practices and reporting standards. You'll need to think about your tax, your payroll, and especially how to essentially conduct annual compliances in Singapore. So these are all things that Singapore or Incorp as a company will be able to assist and advise for foreign companies. And if you're a local company or local entrepreneur looking to set up your first retail company, also feel free to approach us, because even though you're local, there might be a lot of nuances in terms of running the business for the first time that you may not be aware of. So definitely this is something we can help. And Elton, I know we do have some other services that we can support retailers as well.
Yes, Eric, of course, besides the traditional, compliance services that we provide to our clients, such as accounting, tax, payroll, and all the other corporate services that Eric has mentioned earlier. All right, at Incorp, we also have a separate IT arm that actually helps us to actually provide IT services in terms of infrastructure as well as IT solutions. So as you can imagine, if we were to set up a very simple physical store, besides the inventory management, we are also looking at the point of sale system that we can actually help in connecting you with our partners that will be able to have an end-to-end solution that we can help to set up basically the store from scratch, and then of course making sure that all the devices are talking to each other, and then of course linking up through barcode scannings through online payment solutions, and so on. And through that, it flows into the accounting system and eventually for your tax reporting as well. So these are some of the unique services that you can find if you were to choose Incorp as a partner.
That's right. So for more information to all our audience here today, feel free to drop us an email or visit Incorp's website for more information. And don't forget, it's www.incorp.asia. So please don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, especially to entrepreneurs who are in the retail space, looking at setting up their retail, be it brick and mortar or be it online, e-commerce in Singapore. So thanks for joining us today, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
See you in the next episode.